There's a moment in football, rare but unforgettable, when a player transcends the sport, when they become something more than just a name on a score sheet. They become art in motion, a magician on the field, a figure whose every touch, every dribble, feels like it could change the game. Neymar da Silva Santos Júnior was that player. In his prime, Neymar wasn't just good, he was breathtaking. But how good was prime Neymar, really? To answer that, we need to journey through his rise to greatness, the moments that defined him, and the legacy he left behind. Neymar's story begins in Mogi das Cruzes, Brazil, where he was born into a footballing family. His father, a former footballer, recognized his son's natural talent early on, and by the time Neymar was 11, his name was already whispered among scouts. But it was at Santos FC, the same club that gave the world Pelé, that Neymar's talents truly began to shine. At just 17 years old, Neymar made his debut for Santos, and almost instantly, you could see that something was different. The flair, the audacity, the sheer creativity of his play. It was mesmerizing. It didn't take long for Neymar to cement himself as one of the most exciting young players in the world. In 2011, Neymar scored what is now famously known as the goal of the year, an incredible solo run where he dribbled past 5 defenders before coolly finishing. That goal wasn't just a statement. It was a warning to the football world. Neymar was coming. By 2013, Neymar had achieved everything he could in Brazil. He led Santos to multiple league titles, a Copa Libertadores, and had established himself as the face of Brazilian football. But Neymar's ambitions were far bigger than the confines of his home country. He had his eyes set on Europe, the heart of world football. In the summer of 2013, Neymar made the move to FC Barcelona. It was a transfer that captured global attention. After all, Neymar wasn't just a rising star. He was being touted as the heir to the throne, the one who could potentially fill the shoes of football's greatest legends. Barcelona was already a team stacked with talent, featuring none other than Lionel Messi, the best player in the world at the time. The big question was whether Neymar could thrive in Messi's shadow, or if the Argentine's presence would stifle his growth. But from the very beginning, Neymar proved that he wasn't just there to complement Messi, he was there to make his own mark. In his first season, Neymar showed glimpses of the greatness to come. His dribbling, his vision, and his ability to link up with Messi and the rest of the team was something special. But it was in the 2014 to 2015 season that prime Neymar truly emerged. It's hard to think of Neymar's prime without mentioning one of the most devastating attacking trios football has ever seen: Messi, Suárez, Neymar, or MSN, as they were famously called. The chemistry between these 3 players was nothing short of magical. They weren't just a team. They were a force of nature, a perfect blend of talent, intelligence, and ruthlessness. And Neymar was at the heart of it all. That season, Barcelona won the treble, La Liga, the Copa del Rey, and the UEFA Champions League, and Neymar played a pivotal role in each one of those triumphs. But it was the Champions League final against Juventus that truly showcased prime Neymar at his best. With the game on the line, Neymar scored the 3rd goal in stoppage time to seal Barcelona's 3-1 victory, securing their 5th Champions League title. It was a moment of brilliance, and it capped off a season where Neymar had scored 39 goals in all competitions, including 10 in the Champions League, finishing as the competition's joint top scorer. But to talk about Neymar's prime is to talk about more than just his goals. What made him special wasn't just his finishing. It was everything else he brought to the game. Neymar played football. It was a performance, an expression of creativity and joy. Every time he touched the ball, you never knew what was going to happen next. He could glide past defenders with ease, not just with raw speed, but with a level of control and finesse that made it seem like the ball was glued to his feet. His flair and trickery were unmatched, whether it was a rainbow flick over a defender's head, an elastico to leave an opponent stumbling, or a no-look pass that would leave the crowd gasping. Neymar didn't just play the game, he entertained. But perhaps what truly defined prime Neymar was his ability to turn the impossible into reality. In big moments, when the pressure was highest, he thrived. And no moment captures this better than the 2017 Champions League round of 16 against Paris Saint-Germain. It was one of the greatest comebacks in football history. Barcelona versus PSG, the second leg of the 2017 Champions League round of 16. After suffering a humiliating 4-0 defeat in Paris, no one believed Barcelona could turn it around, no one except Neymar. In what would go down as one of his most iconic performances, Neymar put on a masterclass that night. He scored 2 goals, including an audacious free kick, and provided the assist for Sergi Roberto's 95th minute winner, completing the 6-1 comeback and sending Barcelona through to the quarter-finals. That performance was Neymar at his absolute peak. It was more than just skill. It was leadership, determination, and a refusal to give up. It was the kind of performance that separates the great players from the legends. By the end of his Barcelona career, Neymar had established himself as one of the best players in the world. He was more than just Messi's sidekick. He was a player capable of deciding matches on his own, of creating magic out of nothing. But how good was prime Neymar? He was unstoppable, a true entertainer who played the game with a freedom and joy that reminded us why we love football in the first place. His time at Barcelona cemented his status as one of the world's best, but his story wasn't finished. In fact, it was only just beginning. After reaching the heights of European glory with Barcelona, the world expected Neymar to continue as part of the unstoppable MSN trio. But Neymar had other plans. His move to Paris Saint-Germain (PSG) in 2017 shocked the footballing world, shattering transfer records in the process. It wasn't just a change of scenery, it was a declaration. Neymar was ready to step out of Messi's shadow and carve his own path. But the question remains, was the move to PSG the turning point that solidified Neymar's greatness, or did it take him further away from true footballing immortality? When PSG activated Neymar's release clause from Barcelona, paying a mind-boggling €222 million, it wasn't just a statement, it was a revolution in football economics. The deal made Neymar the most expensive footballer in history, nearly doubling the previous record. But for Neymar, it wasn't about the money. It was about ambition, legacy, and the opportunity to be the leading man at a club with its own aspirations for greatness. At PSG, Neymar was no longer part of a trio. He was the focal point. The team was built around him, and he was expected to lead them to European glory, something that had eluded the Parisian club despite their domestic dominance. But transitioning from Barcelona's system, where he shared the spotlight with Messi and Suárez, to becoming the main man in Paris came with immense pressure. Could Neymar deliver? From the very moment Neymar set foot in Paris, it was clear that he was on a mission. In his debut season, Neymar wasted no time showing why PSG were willing to spend such an astronomical fee. His flair, his dribbling, and his ability to create moments of brilliance on his own were unmatched in Ligue 1. Defenders simply couldn't cope with him. In his first season at PSG, Neymar racked up an impressive 28 goals and 16 assists in just 30 games before injury prematurely ended his campaign. He was electrifying, leaving fans and pundits in awe of his talent. Yet, despite his individual brilliance, one thing was clear. Neymar hadn't come to PSG just to dominate French football. He had come to win the Champions League. Winning the Champions League with PSG wasn't just a dream for Neymar, it was the dream. After lifting the trophy at Barcelona, Neymar wanted to prove he could lead a team to European glory on his own terms. but the road to that dream was far from easy. Injuries plagued Neymar's time in Paris. It seemed like every season, just as PSG were entering the critical stages of the Champions League, Neymar would pick up an injury that kept him sidelined for those crucial knockout matches. In 2018 and 2019, Neymar missed key games due to injury, and PSG were knocked out of the tournament earlier than expected. Criticism followed. Was Neymar too injury-prone? Did he lack the discipline to stay fit during the most important times of the season? These questions began to overshadow his undeniable talent. But in 2020, Neymar had the chance to silence his critics. The 2019 to 2020 season was a unique one, not just because of the COVID-19 pandemic that disrupted football worldwide, but also because it presented Neymar with a golden opportunity to achieve what he came to Paris for: Champions League glory. PSG stormed their way to the final, with Neymar playing some of the best football of his career along the way. His performances in the knockout stages were sublime. He was a constant threat, tormenting defenders with his pace, skill, and vision. In the semi-final against RB Leipzig, Neymar was unplayable, helping PSG secure a 3-0 win and reach their first ever Champions League final. But the final against Bayern Munich was a different story. Despite Neymar's best efforts, PSG fell short, losing 1-0 to a ruthless Bayern side. For Neymar, it was heartbreak. He had come so close to fulfilling his dream, only to fall at the final hurdle. As the final whistle blew, the cameras zoomed in on Neymar, who couldn't hold back his tears. It was a raw moment that encapsulated the emotional roller coaster of his career, PSG. After the 2020 final, the debate around Neymar's legacy intensified. Was he a player who couldn't quite live up to expectations when it mattered most? Or was he simply a victim of circumstance, battling injuries and playing in a team that, despite its domestic dominance, lacked the quality to win Europe's top prize? One thing was clear: Neymar was more than just a player. He was a global icon, one of the most recognizable athletes in the world, transcending the sport in a way few others had. His influence extended beyond the pitch, into fashion, music, and pop culture. For an entire generation of young footballers, Neymar wasn't just someone to admire, he was someone to emulate. But football is a sport that often measures greatness by trophies, and for Neymar, the biggest one, the Champions League, remained elusive. While Neymar's time at PSG has been marked by individual brilliance and team shortcomings, his impact on the international stage with Brazil cannot be overlooked. As the face of the Brazilian national team, Neymar carried the weight of a footballing nation on his shoulders. His performances for Brazil have often been spectacular, particularly in the 2014 World Cup, where Neymar was arguably the best player in the tournament before a devastating back injury in the quarter-finals ruled him out of Brazil's infamous 7-1 semi-final loss to Germany. But Neymar's redemption came in 2016, when he led Brazil to their first ever Olympic gold medal in football, scoring the winning penalty in a dramatic shootout against Germany. That moment, celebrated across the country, was one of pure joy and relief for Neymar, who had always dreamed of delivering success for his country. However, the elusive World Cup trophy still haunts Neymar's legacy. In 2018, Brazil once again fell short, and now, as Neymar approaches the twilight of his career, the 2022 World Cup in Qatar presents perhaps his final chance to win the one trophy that would immortalize him in Brazilian football history. So, how good was prime Neymar? In his prime, Neymar was more than just a footballer. He was a magician, an entertainer, and a game changer. At Barcelona, he was part of one of the greatest attacking trios in football history. And at PSG, he has been the driving force behind their quest for European glory. But Neymar's legacy is not just about trophies and goals. It's about the joy he brings to the game, the creativity, the flair, and the moments of magic that make you remember why you fell in love with football in the first place. As his career continues, one thing is certain: Neymar, in his prime, was as good as any player the world has seen. And while the debate around his legacy will continue, no one can deny the impact he has had on the sport and the countless lives he's inspired along the way. Prime Neymar was more than just good, he was unforgettable. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to GoalGist for more in-depth football stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.